And on the Newsmaker show this morning, originally scheduled was Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. As you can imagine, the sheriff is terribly busy. We have on the line with us to take the sheriff's place for a few minutes anyway, an equally busy person, Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Mr. Mayor, thanks for coming on.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Quite a day out there already.
I guess so. How many inches of snow in Hornell at the moment? Do you have any sense of that?
Oh, I'd say there's at least 5 or 6 out there. Just based on shoveling myself out this morning, there's quite a bit, and it's heavy, wet and heavy.
Yes, it is. I'm sure you know Hornell schools are closed, and schools closed all around the valley. Even over in Wellsville, they closed the Alfred State campus. The travel advisory is still in effect for Steuben County. They lifted it over in Livingston County, though they did warn Sheriff Tom Doherty did warn that things may not be perfect on every road in Livingston County, but the advisory still goes for Steuben County. No unnecessary travel is what Sheriff Jim Allard is saying, and they say that all courts in Steuben County are closed for today. Well, Mayor Buckley, I'm guessing that Mitch Cornish and the Department of Public Works guys are all out today.
Oh, it's all hands on deck. The city of Hornell, we have about 42 miles of road or streets to plow and to maintain. So, all the guys are out there plowing and doing their best. When you get a heavy snowfall like this, it does take a while. It takes a while to get through the city and it takes a little while to clean it all up after the fact, because you can't just go through once. You got to go through multiple times, and then on some of the larger streets, Main Street and Geneseo, obviously pile it up in the middle, at least in the interim before the loaders and the dump trucks can get out and haul it all the way. So we've got a lot of sidewalks to maintain as well. Sidewalks that run along Route 36 on the south end of town. There's various ones obviously downtown. We try to take care of that best we can, but it's wet and heavy. So I just advise people, when you're out there shoveling, just take your time. Don't try not to hurry. This is what they refer to as heart attack snow. So just kind of just take it one shovel at a time, and don't try to do too much. I jumped out there this morning and was surprised how heavy it was. But on the positive side, there is no school, so it's perfect snowman weather for the kids. So I'm sure all the kids will be out there enjoying it, and great packing weather.
A lot of power. The further east you go, the more power outages there are. There was like 132 in Bath, I believe, much more than that in Corning and Lindley, but none in Hornell, John.
Well, no, we haven't had any power outages, although the power did flicker and went out for about, maybe about 5 or 10 seconds earlier this morning. I want to say around probably 6:30 this morning, but it came right back on. Basically just enough to where you have to reset your clocks, but we've been lucky so far, knock on wood, that we haven't had any power outages. But like I said, the snow is wet and heavy, so it does weigh heavily on the lines. And if you look around the city or look out your windows, you can see the power lines and the trees kind of sagging from under the weight of all that wet and heavy snow. But just to kind of dovetail on the sheriff's comments, yes. If you don't have to drive, if you don't have to be anywhere, I urge you to stay home, stay off the streets, let the plows do their work. Obviously, there's a lot of private contractors out there plowing out parking lots and of the area, local businesses and hospitals and that sort of thing. So, let those folks do their work. I know a lot of people like to get out and see everything, but it is slippery out there. It is dangerous. So, I'd urge people, not to drive unnecessarily.
Talking on the Newsmaker show this morning on our live line with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. I was answering the phone. The phone rang a couple times while you were speaking, Mr. Mayor. Did you mention anything about the hat buses? The hat buses, they say they're doing in-city limits bus runs within Hornell till 4:30 today. Did you get that mentioned?
Yeah, I did talk to Kim Courtney, who runs HAT. I talked to her last night, and we obviously with the bad weather, we didn't want to send our buses out of town and put anyone into danger or put them into harm's way. So HAT is having limited runs throughout the day until 4 within the city. So that's just inside the city itself, and they're not going to venture outside the city until the roads get cleared up, which will probably be tomorrow.
Okay, talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Mr. Mayor, do you have a few minutes left?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
We've been doing a story in the news this morning, and it's also online. WROC Channel 8 in Rochester did a very nice story on St. James anesthesiologist Dr. Ismail Mayer, and a lot of people talking about this story on their Facebook page, linking it to WROC's website and the page that does the story on Dr. Ismail. It actually listed all the missionary trips he's ever done, which is quite a few trips, with Muslim missionary group Imana.
Yeah, Izzy and I went to school together. We were only a couple of years apart.
Right.
Known him for a long, long time. Just a wonderful humanitarian, wonderful community advocate, and he's been around the world helping people, helping children, and just a wonderful person. I can't say enough about him. Just such a compassionate man and doctor, and it's so nice that not only does he serve our community, but he takes his talents and expertise elsewhere to other countries to help those people in need, because we really have it good here, and although it's kind of human nature to complain about things, when you step outside of our comfort zone or our inner circles here in the valley, in the city, or in our country for that matter, and you go outside in some of these third world countries when they don't have the medical care and they don't have clean water and sewer and everything that we enjoy here, it's a different world, and for him to take that time and really apply his skills and medical knowledge and everything that he's been able to do over the years, and take that and help other people in other countries. I just can't say enough about him. He's just a really an incredible man, and he's actually serving on our DRI committee, our local planning committee, to help the city out too. So he's just busy all the time. He's just one of those guys that doesn't know how to stop, really. Just kind of, he's always in work mode in one capacity or another.
Mayor Buckley, on the topic of medical issues in Hornell, the medical office building is very much up and running. Are they still going for early 2020 for the opening of the new St. James Hospital, which is nearby the medical office building in the old Kmart Plaza?
Yeah, they're targeting March of this coming year for the grand opening, and I haven't heard anything otherwise, so I think they're pretty much on track. There's obviously a lot of moving parts when it comes to the hospital itself. About a month and a half or so ago, we did a walking tour around the hospital inside and outside with Brian O'Donovan, the CEO, and I tell you, it's a wonderful facility. And when you drive by, it doesn't look as big as it does when you're inside it. When you're inside it, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of room. They put a lot of time and energy and effort into really, kind of mapping out the floor plan and laying it out to really, to get the best use out of the square footage that they have. And it's, I think it's going to be an incredible facility, ultra modern. Everything's going to be brand new. All the equipment. I think Hornell and the surrounding area is really fortunate to have a brand new hospital. And think about it this way: outside of Guthrie and Corning, there's not very many hospitals being built these days, nationally, especially locally in New York State. There's, you'd be hard pressed to find any new hospitals being built outside of our region these days. So, it's a feather in our cap. We're very fortunate and lucky to have them, and we look forward to cutting that ribbon come March.
We're talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley, who's been good enough to come in at the last minute and come on at the last minute here. and talk about the situation in Hornell this morning, as well as other issues. You talked about the DRI, the revitalization money, earlier when we were talking about Dr. Ismail Marin. You said he's on the board for that. What do we know about the DRI at the moment, Mayor Buckley?
Well, we just had our first set of meetings a week or so ago. We've got the next one coming up on the 12th. So the first set of meetings, the first one was for the local planning committee, and then the same day or later that evening we had one for the general public. And in the first set of meetings, the state basically comes in and kind of sets the guidelines and kind of walks you through the process. Obviously, this is the fourth year that the program has been in existence, so there's a process to go through. So they really outlined, what the DRI is, what it isn't, what the funds can be used for, what they can't be used for. I know when the city was first awarded the $10 million, there was a lot of people that would call me up and say, "Oh, geez, hey, I need new windows on my building, or I need a new roof, or I would like this, or I would like that." Well, there's a lot of things that you can use the money for, but there's a lot of things that you can't use it for as well. So it was really just outlining, what it can and can't be used for, and roles and responsibilities of the committee and of the public. Obviously, the public has an immensely big part in the DRI process, because ultimately, whatever projects that we seek out through the DRI, we want the public to have input, and we want the public to be supportive of it. The last thing I want as mayor, and I think I could say this for the governor as well, is to pursue projects and then 5-10 years down the road, look back and say, "Oh, geez, why did we waste the money on that?" So we want projects that are going to be beneficial to the community and lasting. And that's to say, 5-15 years down the road, you can look back on it and say, "You know what, that was a good investment. Glad we did it," and not have to second guess ourselves.
Okay. Yes, and the DRI. I've kept saying DRI. That's a Downtown Revitalization Initiative. That's what that stands for. Talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley this morning. He's filling in for Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the latest on the house fire situation over on Preston Avenue and Washington Streets in Hornell.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to report as far as the investigation. I think when you have a fire of that magnitude and that intensity, it's really hard to determine the cause, because everything is basically just burnt down to nothing. And I know the police and the fire investigators have been working diligently, since the fire happened. But it's a slow process, and we just have to be patient. And I know in the meantime, the property owners themselves have been dealing with their insurance agents and going through that process. And unfortunately, it does take a little while to go through that process before we can start to clean up. Obviously, it's kind of an eyesore, just having all those burnout properties just sitting there. But we can't just go in the next day and take it all away. You're dealing with multiple property owners, multiple insurance companies, and honestly, just multiple obstacles to be able to do that. But we are working with those folks every day, and we're talking to them. Obviously, there's a lot of displaced families, and that was first and foremost, that was the most important thing we had to do, is take care of those people that were displaced and make sure that they had places to lay their heads at night, take care of the children, make sure that they had clothing, food, all the accommodations that they needed, and we really did that. I mean, you talk about a community lift. That was such a huge outpouring of support by the community, and we've seen it before to different extents. When someone comes down with cancer, or you're diagnosed with this or that, we rally around each other. we've had house fires. We had a house fire a year ago over on Fulton Street. Actually, it was almost a year exactly to this one, and it was just one structure. We relocated those people, but you can imagine when you have up to 8 houses affected, and so many people and so many families. It's a heavy lift to do it all at once, but we did it. We rallied, and I'm very proud of our community.
We're going to probably have to let you go now because very busy day for Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us on Newsmaker this morning.
Well, thanks for having me on, Brian.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, who's good enough to come on last minute there and fill in for Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard, who's obviously also very busy this morning and was unable to make it on the Newsmaker show.